So, I got the big screen. Oh, I'm My thing is, Democrats are very into the black folks when it's time for election.
They need you to be oppressed. So you keep voting for them.
Wait a minute. Y'all talking about we're not answering y'all question. Come on. We'll answer that question. But can they answer my question? About the fact that why the black vote being suppressed? Why the Republican Party? Why do they?
That's a valid question.
Why do they not go for the black vote? Because I will answer his question. Okay, let's bring up a common thing that's thrown around, especially from the Democrats: voter IDs, voter ID laws.
You need a voter ID law. You can go with just purging a vote, purging registrations. That happens a lot in Republican-led Congresses in the state.
Georgia.
I'm in Georgia. I'm in Georgia.
Prime example.
What part of Georgia are you in?
I'm in the south of Georgia. I'm in Savannah. Now,
70% of that was African American vote. Or stuff like your name having a hyphen in it and it don't match your ID, but your hyphen is not in your
how would you fix it?
You're
cherry picking. Now let me answer your question though. Let me give you a direct answer.
Of black voters.
Listen, let me give you a direct answer. Over 90% of black people vote Democrat. No other group in America votes for Democrat on that level. Only black people.
That wasn't true until when? That was a conscious effort by the Republican Party not to go after the black vote.
I'm trying to answer your question. If you let me finish. Now, secondly, I want to point this out. You shouldn't want the Republican Party to go after the black vote. You shouldn't want the Democrat to go after the black vote. What you should want is two parties who go after all votes and make policies that benefit you, not tailored to you.
We would be better served if the Republican Party, I agree with you, go after the black vote. Because when you have two parties working on your behalf, you get stuff done. So
join the Republican Party.
Okay, I just have to say.
Sam said 55 million to colleges, a total of 85 million to HBCUs last December.
You know what? At the end of the day, it's almost a weekend. At the end of the day, it's almost a weekend. And you can thank Democrats for your 40-hour work week. And you can thank Democrats for your being able to vote. And you can thank Democrats for the American with Disabilities Act and for child labor laws and even for minimum wage laws. Because let me tell you what the real goal of conservatism has always been and will always be. This is the bottom line. Ever since the abolition of slavery in 1865, and I'm going to use conservative and liberal here because there was a switch in the 60s and we ain't going to have a first grade.
Oh, Lord.
We're not going to have a third grade history lesson. We're not going to have a third grade history lesson. Ever since the abolition of slavery in 1865, conservatives' goal has been to return the populace, not just black people, but everyone, to a state that resembled slavery, because slavery was very economically advantageous. So no, let me just finish. I'm gonna tell you. Let me explain what I'm saying.
The studies are out.
No, listen.
Wow.
Slaves were not allowed to have an education. So conservatives have had a war on public education ever since. You know, they only want education to be available, good education to be available to people who can afford it. Family planning. Slaves did not have the ability to plan their families, because once you have kids,
that's revisionist history.
Once you
gotta have kids first.
That's revisionist history.
No. So the conservatives have always opposed family planning. They opposed birth control. They opposed abortion. They have always wanted to keep the wages down. It was Democrats who had to actually introduce a minimum wage, because if conservatives had their way, they would be not paying for anything. And in fact, a lot of them have taken their factories out of America because they don't want to pay higher wages. They've gone to Bangladesh where they can pay people 16 cents an hour because slavery is profitable. They have coupled health care. with your employment. Why? Because
I can't believe what I'm hearing.
that forces you to stay with the employer just to have health care. Just like slaves were dependent upon their masters to take care of their health. Listen, there's no reason why businesses should be happy to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for health care when it could be a small tax payroll tax deduction like every other country in the free world. Every single thing that conservatism has done since the emancipation of slavery has been an attempt to get all of us, not just black people, but everyone back into a state.
Revisionist history.
Revisionist. We got babies to feed. We don't have.
Man, you gotta let somebody else talk now.
What you're calling?
No, it's actually true.
I hear Javier say that slavery.
Jump in there.
I can prove. Look, slavery was not as beneficial as people like to think it was. It's actually worse.
Trade in America at the time.
I'm about to explain. I'm about to explain, brother.
Oh no!
Listen to me. The information is out. Slavery is bad for everybody, not just the slave, but the slave owners. It was actually more expensive to have slaves than it is to actually pay somebody to do the work, because you don't have to house them, you don't have to feed them, you don't have to pay people to catch them if they run away or try to murder you in your sleep. These are things you don't have to deal with when you have an employee. Slavery was worse for everybody. The morale of human beings. It's the information is out. They were just dumb.
Reality.
In theory, it was worse for everybody, but in reality, people was profiting off of free labor from people. You know what I'm saying? They had people captive. They were selling off people's family, and you're telling me
this is why reading.
This is the classic example.
Vital.
This is gonna hurt me more than it hurts you. No, it doesn't. This hurts me
reading
more
is very
I got
valuable.
to see my family move to 10 states now. I got to see my brother hanging from a tree. You're losing financial gain, and you're gaining, because at the time slavery ended, it was worth $3 billion. But we never seen that $3 billion. We don't even get a percentage off of cotton. Can we
Guess
get
how
something
much
off of tobacco?
is worth
anything? But look,
with employees.
let me ask y'all this question, because I can't be on here. I know this y'all show, but I want to ask y'all one question, 2 or 3. What does "this is my African American" mean?
Say that again.
This is my African American.
Said by who? The slave owner?
Said by Donald Trump when he said, "Look, there's my African American." What does that mean? Was he talking about y'all? Or was who was he talking about?
What talking about me? I'm black.
One talking about me.
They're trying to preserve statues, Confederate statues that were there.
What is a Confederate?
You know.
Confederate is the South. The Confederate.
Those are the people who wanted us in slavery. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yes, it was.
In slavery.
Yes, it was. And I don't agree with slavery, and I don't agree with the Confederacy. I don't agree with any of that bull crap.
Right.
But I will tell you,
make us no money.
But you want us to have a pity party. You want us to have a pity party for the slaves, for the slave owners, because it was so hard. It was hard.
You're the one in the
such a hard time.
I mean, economically, I had a house.
These human beings, these slaves, it was such a hard to have to feed them.
In that case, Javier,
Nobody got you.
I can't hear you.
We ain't got